Okay, now I know you've been through a lot, and this kind of diagram here can seem very confusing to begin with, and don't you worry, it took me a few times to really understand what was going on here. And as well as this setup here, right? So you've got your computer, you probably understand that, but this, if you've never worked on a machine learning project before, this might seem a little out of whack. You got a project folder, you got data, you got an environment. Conda helps you create this environment, and within that environment you have different data science and machine learning tools. Well, what we're going to do in this lecture, and this is for Mac OS by the way, so if you're using a Windows computer, you might want to look at the other version of this lecture, which goes through the same steps. But what we're going to do in this section, or this lecture, and bear with me because this is a little bit of an involved process, but we're going to work through it together. There's documentation in the resources section that will help you along if you get stuck, but don't worry, this kind of concept takes a while to get it first, but once you get it, you'll start to realize, okay, I see where it's valuable, and you'll be able to use it throughout your data science and machine learning career. Now, first of all, we have your computer. What we're going to do is download Miniconda along with Conda, and then use Conda to create an environment which contains some of these tools. So this is what we'll do. We'll download Miniconda, which Conda will come with. We'll create a project folder, and then we'll create an example environment like this. And what we can use this environment for is, because there's tools in here for data science and machine learning, we can use it for our future projects. This lecture kind of sets up the whole entire rest of the course. So once we have these environments set up, we can start to work on projects, get hands-on, start working with data, start building machine learning models. But setting up the right foundation is very important. So in saying that, I've developed a little flowchart here that, again, this link will be in the resources section, of just some steps of what we're going to do with Anaconda, Miniconda, and Conda. And don't worry, we're not going to go through this, well, we actually will go through this step by step, but for now, I'll let you have a look at this on your own. But these are the steps we're going to take. Download Miniconda, let me zoom in. Download Miniconda, install it to your computer, test the installation via terminal, create a project folder and change into it. So this project folder is kind of like the workflow that we're going to be setting up for each of the projects. They'll each have their own project. Create a custom environment within the project folder. Now, an environment, remember, is a collection of packages or tools that we use for data science projects. We're going to activate our new environment, and then we're going to load up a Jupyter Notebook, which is one of the tools. Don't worry if you're not sure what a Jupyter Notebook is. We'll look into that in a second. But Jupyter Notebook is one of the tools we use most often for data science and machine learning. All right. So the first step is to download Miniconda. And what we're going to do, there's a link here in this flowchart, but I'll just show you how you'd find it. So Miniconda download. We open up a browser. So we go to Miniconda. Now remember, we're using Miniconda because it's about 10 times less space than Anaconda. Now, because I'm using Mac OS, I'm going to download the Mac version. I want to download the latest version because Python 2.7 is, or Python 2. Anything is getting phased out as of 2020. So remember, if you're on Windows, you might want to look at the Windows version of this lecture. But if you're on Mac OS, these are the steps for you. So we download this, the PKG version. Just trust me when I say the PKG version. Download that. What that's going to do, this is going to download to our download section of the computer. It doesn't take too long, so we'll just wait for that to happen. Beautiful. Once that's finished, we can open it up. This is going to open up the Miniconda 3 installer. So you'll be guided through the necessary steps to install this software. Beautiful. We're going to walk through these. Click agree. Choose installation. Now this is the default here, right? Install for me only. You want to click on this one as well. Installing this software requires 195 megabytes of space. So remember, Anaconda, even though it's got the Anaconda logo here, you want to have it, pay attention to up here, Miniconda 3. So this is taking up Anaconda is going to take up about 3 gigabytes. This takes up about 200 megabytes, which is fine. And now installing Miniconda is going to come with it some of the foundational tools that we need to get started with data science and machine learning. Remember, Miniconda is like a data scientist's workbench. So we'll click continue, install. Excellent. So after a few seconds, didn't actually take too long, it'll automatically change to this little window here where it says the installation was completed successfully. Beautiful, we can close that now, move to bin. So what have we actually done? What we've done is we've got our computer and we've just done this step. We've installed Miniconda plus Conda. And remember, Miniconda is going to come along with something like Python, which is what we need to use these packages. All of these packages are written in Python code. Now, what we can do is we're going to set up this little workflow. We've got our computer, we're going to set up a project folder, and then we're going to use Conda, which came with Miniconda, to create an environment. So let's do that. Now, if you're on a Mac, you can do this through Terminal. So I'm going to open up Terminal, and I'll make this a bit bigger so we can zoom in. Now, if you've never experienced this before, what Terminal does is essentially lets you type in commands that's going to tell your computer to do something. And that's what we want. We want to tell our computer to go, hey, create this project folder, and then we'll use Conda to create this environment. And you can do that with commands in the command line, which is where we are now. As I just said, you may hear this referred to as bash, command line, terminal. If you're on Windows, it might be something else. But if you ever hear those words, terminal, bash, command line, it's probably within the terminal app on Mac. So remember, you can find that by going terminal. Now, before installing Miniconda, this wouldn't have been here. But because we have installed Miniconda, we've now got a little thing here called base. And what these brackets are at the start of your name, you see this is my MacBook Pro, and I'm in my user account, Daniel. What this means is we're currently in the base environment. When we download Miniconda to our computer, it's going to set up a base environment. Now, this base environment comes with the default tools, but we want to create our own custom environment within our own custom project folder. So, how would we do that? Well, first of all, we're going to change directory to the desktop. And we can do that by pressing CD desktop, where CD means change directory. And if you're wondering what directory is, it's kind of like a folder. So if we look in Finder and I go to Daniel, let me just zoom in on that for you too. So this is where we are now, Daniel. And what I want to do is change to the desktop. So I'll change to here, and we're going to create a folder on the desktop called sample project. And this will be just an example of how we create a project folder and an environment within that project folder so that we can set ourselves up for the future. For each project we go through in this course, we'll create a new project exactly like this. So we're going to change to the desktop. And now to create a folder, we can do make dir called sample project, where mkdir stands for make directory. So if we hit enter while we do that, we should be able to see if we hit ls, which stands for list, which means list all the files which are on the desktop. It says ML course and sample project. So let's go back to the desktop in Finder. You can see sample project was created today at 1:21 p.m. and there's ML course. So by the end of this course, you'll have maybe a sample project folder to begin with through this lecture, and then probably 3 or 4 others, or depending on how many projects there are, you'll have a folder for each project that we work on. And remember, we've done step 1 here. We've got our project folder. This is what we've just created. Your computer downloaded Miniconda. We haven't used Miniconda yet, but we've created this project folder, sample project. Now we're going to use Conda to create an environment which contains the machine learning and data science tools that we need. So let's go back to terminal. This is where we can use Conda again. So we're going to change directory into our sample project with CD sample project. Now we're inside sample project, and if we hit ls, there's going to be nothing in here. Go back to Finder, nothing in here, which makes sense, right? Because it's a brand new folder. Now, to create a sample or to create an environment, we can use the command conda create. And in our case, we're gonna use specifically the conda create prefix dot slash env. Don't worry, I'll step through this in a second. Pandas, numpy, matplotlib, scikit-learn. Now you might be looking at this going, holy hell. Daniel, there's a lot of commands there and a lot of these names don't even make sense to me, and what is even going on here? Well, great question, because it took me a while to get around this as well. So, in a nutshell, what is this saying? We got conda create. So, conda create environment. And prefix env. What is this even saying? Conda create is just basically the introduction to any time you want to create one of these environments. You'll type conda create. It's saying, conda, you're querying your personal assistant going, hey, I want to create something. Now that something in our case has a prefix. This .env means that we're going to use the prefix of the current folder to be at the start of this environment folder that we're going to create. And then these pandas, numpy, matplotlib, scikit-learn are the tools or packages we want to put into our environment. Now, that was a quick overview of this line of code, and we could unpack it more. But most often, it's important to just try run the code and see what happens. So let's do that. Now, what's going to happen is that what we've just done, see a list here? I'll show you what we've just done. So here's our line of code, conda create prefix dot slash env pandas numpy matplotlib scikit-learn. Beautiful. Now, environment location. See where I said that it was the prefix? So we've got prefix, then dot. This is what I mean. That means it's going to use the prefix of this sample project folder, or the file path, at the front of this env folder to create another env folder inside the sample project. And you're thinking, oh, Daniel, you've lost me. Don't worry. When I first figured out this or went through this workflow, I was like, what the hell is going on? We got slashes and folders and everything's everywhere. But after doing this a few times, it'll start to make sense and you'll realize the value in having a setup like this. So, this is saying that our environment location, remember, this is what we're creating, environment, is going to be at users/Daniel. It's on the desktop. It's in our folder, sample project. Now this name might change depending on the project we're working on. And it's going to be env. It's called env. Env is short for environment. It's like one of those shorthand ways of typing something, like CD is for change directory. You'll see this very commonly throughout your data science and machine learning career. My environment might be shortened to env. And now Conda is telling us we're going to add/update these packages in there. Why these ones? Well, because we've typed them. Pandas, numpy, matplotlib, scikit-learn. Now you might be thinking, Daniel, why did you choose these? Well, let's go over here. We'll zoom in. Look here, this is the environment we want to create with some of these tools. There's matplotlib, there's pandas, there's scikit-learn, and there's numpy. So let's go back to the terminal. When we scroll down, Conda's going to tell us a few things. So the following packages will be downloaded. The following new packages will be installed. Yep. And so this is saying NumPy is going to be installed. Panda is going to be installed. But remember how Conda is our personal assistant? Even though we've only typed in 4 packages, 4 tools, matplotlib, numpy, pandas, scikit-learn, Conda is our assistant. And these are standalone packages on themselves, but they also depend on other code. So because Conda is our personal assistant, it's going to go, hey, ask the internet, what do I need to run these? And then Conda is going to go and grab all of these extra things for us automatically. We're going to say, yes, thank you, Conda. Please proceed. And so now what's going to happen? It's going to download from the internet and extract different packages. Extract just means similar to how we installed Miniconda. Extract just means it's going to download it and go through the install steps for us. Now this is going to take a few seconds because it's going to go through pandas, numpy, matplotlib, and scikit-learn. We'll just wait till that completes. Excellent. So That took a few seconds to download a few things from the internet, but now what have we just done? Well, preparing transaction, done. Verifying transaction, done. Executing transaction, done. Beautiful. Now to activate this environment, this is a message from Conda. Conda activate users /Daniel /desktop /sample project /env. Okay, so if we go back into the sample project folder, we can see here, now we've got an env folder. So what we've done, we go back to our presentation, we look here, we've created a project folder called sample data. Now we've created an environment folder called env, which contains Jupyter. Sorry, we haven't installed Jupyter yet. That's a little spoiler for what's coming up. With pandas, matplotlib, and scikit-learn, thanks to Conda. So we're going to pay attention to what Conda says. Let's run this code, Conda activate. And now I like to type things out, right, instead of copying and pasting, because it gets me used to typing these different commands, and you will get to. You might see these and think, my goodness, this is so much, but don't worry. As I said, we're not in it for the easy thing. We're in it to do things right and make practical machine learning solutions, and this is part of it. So you might want to write this one down. This your special activate might be similar to mine, might have your name here, so you can use it in the future. Now, once we've written it down, we're going to hit enter. And so what you'll see change here is, look, we've gone from base to now users, Daniel, desktop, sample project, env. Now this section here is the env prompt. Remember, that's the active environment. So if we go conda env list, which is going to say, hey Conda, list the environments that we have. We've got base and we've got the env folder in our sample project. Now the star indicates which one is active, which makes sense because this one is the same as this one. Okay, now we've set up an environment with some tools that we need. What we're going to do is start up a Jupyter notebook and try to import the tools that we need. Remember, importing in Python is like saying, hey Python, go and grab these tools, I need to use them.